Now, the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, NEHAWU, is calling for immediate strategies to defend workers already feeling the negative effects of the U.S. tariffs. NEHAWU President Mike Shingange says the effect of the tariffs are already being felt by the working class. He was speaking at the union's three-day National Organising, Servicing and Collective Bargaining Conference underway in Boksburg East of Johannesburg. NEHAWU says the public sector must be professionalised. The conference aims to recruit, organise and retain members through trust, which needs to be renewed between the unions and workers. NEHAWU President Mike Shingange says challenges outlined in the 2013 bargaining conference, which include retrenchments and austerity measures, have served to weaken the public service. The union says working conditions of workers need to be improved through the bargaining terrain. Meanwhile, the union is expected to embark on a recruitment drive campaign and unite workers. NEHAWU President Mike Shingange joins us for more. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, you're calling for the unity of workers and a way forward here. As you assess the ripple effects of the U.S. tariffs imposed on South Africa, talk to us a little bit about your findings and what those findings have meant for workers.
Well, good evening, Paul. Good evening to your viewers. Of course, the impact of these tariffs are very dire to the economy of the country, and as a result, the cost of living of the workers and their families is going to be unbearable. Already there are companies here in the country that are foreign national companies that are going to be affected by having to either retrench workers or lower the wages because of this tariff. One of the other things that the taxes are going to come up, and as a result, the cost of living is going to be very high. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that you have South African companies themselves that are not going to afford to continue with businesses if they are not able to pay this kind of tariff that's imposed by the U.S. administration. So that's one of the hardships that are going to visit the South African society as a result of these tariff wars that are taking place between our government and the government of the United States.
As your conference has been underway, I mean, what sort of solutions are coming to the table here, looking at the bigger impact in an economy that's currently limping as we look at the unemployment rate in South Africa?
Yes, the first thing, because the economy is shrinking, that's correct, but also the workplace, it's transforming or it's changing. There's a lot of informalization. So there's some of the strategies that we are trying to adopt at this conference is to ensure that we adapt, to ensure that we are fit for purpose, we're able to respond to the new challenges that is brought about by the changing world of work, including the attack on the collective bargaining by various sectors, but also including that which is going to come with this issue of the tariffs and the withdrawal by USA to some funding of the World Health Organizations and some other NGOs that were employing a number of people in our country through as research, as teachers, and so on and so on. So those are the strategies that at the end of the conference on Friday, we must come with a strategy that's going to make us to respond to these issues, so that workers that are affected, first, that their job security is being threatened, are able to be protected using the current labor laws that are applicable in the country, represented by ourselves as a union. But also those that are informalized, they must continue to receive and enjoy the protection of the labor laws of this country, rather than stripping them of the protection that they've always enjoyed whilst they were employed by these institutions.
On the one end, we're seeing reports of worsening medical supply, for one in Botswana, our neighbor, particularly attributed to the US aid reductions. How do you interpret the broader implications of this crisis for the region as we look at the bird's eye view?
For the region, the African continent and most of the developing countries, this is devastating because the withdrawal of the medical supplies payment or at least paying the World Health Organization, including the US aid, is basically showing that you don't care about the underdeveloped countries, those who rely on this assistance for the survival. I know that because you were mentioning Botswana and we're in South Africa, we're neighboring, it could be a question of so those people are going to influx in South Africa. But South Africa itself, even before these withdrawals, was already struggling to put medications in hospitals or in the healthcare services itself. Now, and of course, we know that we have to stand in solidarity, all of us in the continent and in the region, to ensure that this onslaught coming from the United States does not leave the African continent population to the worse off. We have to find innovative ways to ensure that we continue to provide that which is much needed to our people. Yeah. So this for call for an integrated and a coordination between the regions and also about the continent. That gone are the days that we're going to rely on the superpowers. We have to develop our own capacity as individual countries, but also as a continent and also as a region. Of course, this thing is very devastating, but we'll have to adapt to it. Otherwise, we're going to perish as a humanity in this continent.
How have you, if at all, engaged with, government officials in the country to push for some sort of coordinated response to the international economic pressures, more so as the impact is affecting workers directly?
We have continuously do that. This conference aims to do exactly that. Part of the outcomes that are going to come out of this conference was going to be submitted to all the forums that we participate in, be it at NADLEG, be it at bilateral level with the state, that the solution to this country, to this country's problem, is not to bemoan the fact that America is doing what it's doing to us. The solution is for us to come together and develop our own internal capacities, because in any way it is not sustainable that we must rely on the foreign donors. Important as that it is, but a country and a continent does not rely on its own capacities. It's a continent that is facing a state. So we are engaging on those areas.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. NEHAWU President Mike Shingange is speaking to us there about the bigger impact of the U.S. tariffs on workers as their conference is underway to table some solutions and find a way forward.